had this gentleman with me. I believe it was Tuesday of this week. Was it Tuesday? Could have been Tuesday, earlier this week. And he came in because of what was called the sweep on the street. It is something that where the immigration officials are going about doing their duty. Let's be very clear. They're going about doing their business in trying to round up those who are here illegally. We saw a couple of areas that we wanted to look at specifically as it relates to what are the rights of these folks when they're held, how they are treated, and the understanding of the public that it is not something that you stand by and cheer because folks travel, folks migrate because of economic opportunities. It is an understanding of that becomes clear to those who are paying attention firstly, and then those who have traveled. Because when you travel and you live elsewhere and you see the way immigrants are treated, then you understand that you don't want that wished on your worst enemy. I have seen it in the United States, and my guess he has seen it in London. Why? Because he did his law in England. He lived there. He is uniquely, first of all, he's an immigration attorney, but he's uniquely understanding of this situation, because when you see it firsthand coming at you and you see things going on and you hear stories given by people, you just shake. He is Farai Hove Masaisai. Thank you so much, attorney, for joining me again.
Good morning, Rennie. Thank you very much for having me, and good morning to your loyal listeners.
It is really a privilege for us to have you here this morning. I just want to do a quick recap on the issue for those who may not have caught the program in the week. The question of the sweep of the street is the major area where a number of illegals are picked up, and I inquired of you, as I will treat this from a brand new perspective, like I said, for those who did not get it the first time. When a person is picked up by the immigration and they are found to be without papers, first of all, many citizens here are questioning, well, why do I need to have papers? So it's a two-part question. One is it incumbent on the citizenry and all those who are visiting and all those who are foreign nationals to walk around with ID, and if they are without it when caught, or when called in by the police, or when questioned by the police, should they be given a time to do so? Give me the process on that, please, as I welcome you.
Okay, it's not incumbent for you to walk around with ID all the time. We're not always under a state of emergency. Obviously, if that was the case, then that law would have been imposed. But if you're called upon by a police officer to present ID, then they should indeed give you some time to get your ID and bring it. Instances where this normally occurs, obviously, would be like in roadblocks where they ask persons for their driver's permit and those sort of things. They normally give you at least 24 hours to bringing your ID, your driver's permit to the nearest police station. But to say that you must have your passport on you, or you must have your Trinidad and Tobago ID card on you at all times, that is not founded in law.
Just to be very clear, they can request it of you. They should give you time. But if they decided taking you down to the station anyway, what is the citizen's right at that point? If the police decide we're taking you down to the station, you don't have it. Because many people said they have been threatened in that way if you don't have it.
Right. I suspect, the police officers would be operating on some sort of information. They can't just arrest you without having some reason to suspect you of some sort of illegality. Normally in these circumstances, it's the person's accent that may trigger the police officer to request them to accompany them to the police station. At that point, your only option is really a phone call, and the best person to call would either be your family member if they reside in Trinidad, or an attorney who will advise you as to your legal rights,
or a trusted person that you know here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct. Correct.
So that is what is in the offing. Go ahead, please.
Now, Rennie, I was following your show, and I want to read from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and CARICOM Affairs website. All right. Now, you know, with the change in administration, they added on the CARICOM Affairs aspect to it, because the ministry was previously called the Ministry of Foreign Affairs solely. And I suspect it's for the purpose of emphasizing that need to build and strengthen CARICOM relations. And on the site, it says CSME, the overview. And it describes the CARICOM single market and economy is an arrangement among the CARICOM member states for the creation of a single enlarged economic space through the removal of restrictions resulting in the free movement of goods, services, persons, capital, and technology, and it confers the right of all CARICOM nationals to establish a business in any participating CARICOM member state. Now, this is very clear. It is clear, and it is a treaty that Trinidad has signed on to, and it promotes the free movement of persons, free movement of entrepreneurs. If we have entrepreneurs in Trinidad that we have a vibrant manufacturing industry that would want to transfer their goods and services to another market, say for example Farai, Chubby, these sort of SMG, they trade in our CARICOM nations, and it is because of the CARICOM and relations that we have and that we benefit from. It allows our entrepreneurs to carry their goods and services abroad.
And the reason we're raising this, listeners, in case you just locked into us, is because we're dealing with this immigration area on issue on a big scale. That scale includes an understanding as to why many folks are here legally, may overstay something, may misunderstand something, and it's supposed to temper that that thing that goes about cheering when you see folks picked up. We're just trying to make you understand that the world is indeed a global village. In the Caribbean, for a long time, from the days of Federation right up to where we are right now with the CSME, attempting to work together. And correct. People are here, and we should not be dismissive. I always say that what you look at is that xenophobia is indeed a product of ignorance, and the only solution or the only prescription really that works to fix it is education. And that's what we are trying to do this morning. So in the area of the CSME is where we will spend some time, and the CSME calls for those people who are doing business to have a skills certificate.
Correct.
Explain that to us.
Now, there's two forms of free movement of persons in the CARICOM. You can move by virtue of having the skill. They normally say a minimum a degree. Once you have your degree, you apply for your CSME in your country. Once you get it, you move to whichever CARICOM country you desire. If it is, say, I am Trinidadian and I want to set up shop in Barbados, I apply for it in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Trinidad. I get my CSME approved, and I move to Barbados for the purpose of, say, practicing law. All right. I am allowed to practice law in the host country for 6 months. So I have a 6 months period before applying in Barbados for the CSME in the host country. So even though you got your CSME, so the CSME from Trinidad allows me to move. All right. Once I get into the host country, I then reapply again, just showing them a copy of what I got in my country, and then they basically approve it, and that is for indefinite. So I can stay in Barbados and practice law as an attorney for however long, subject to their law association rules and so forth. And similar, likewise, to Trinidad. Now, my wife is Jamaican. We actually met in England, but she works in Trinidad. And she applied for her CSME. That was the first thing she did. She applied when she was in Jamaica. She got it. Then she came to Trinidad, renew it, and she has a stamp in her passport, CSME, indefinite leave to remain and work. So that's one process by virtue of your education. The second one is by virtue of being able to establish a business in a host country. So if you see a niche in a market, it might be that Trinidad has, we are a little advanced in our manufacturing sector than some other countries, and we might say, hey, what I can market my products in, say, Grenada or Guyana, which is a little behind the curve, all right, perceived. But in any event, you go there, you apply under the right of establishment of a business in your jurisdiction. It gives you 6 months to regularize yourself in the host country. So when you get there, you apply for the CSME there, and then you can establish your business, because the CARICOM recognizes the need for entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship amongst the region, not just locally in your own country. Obviously, you can export your skill, you can export your talent and your product. All right. So there's two: the skill. And if you can establish a business, the main aim in the CARICOM is that you're not awarded on the on the host country. So obviously, if you're making money hiring staff and that sort of thing, they want you to come to their country. And that is I suppose it's a mindset as well. When persons see Jamaicans coming to Trinidad, it is perceived that they're coming to take our jobs. But in most instances, in my practice, when Jamaicans come to Trinidad, it's to invest. They might say, here, to get a visa to go to the United States is a little cumbersome, but I have a CARICOM neighbor, and they just as how we have a Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs in Trinidad, they have their CARICOM Affairs Ministry in Jamaica and the other countries, so they will be promoting to their nationals here, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to grow your business regionally. There's Trinidad on the doorstep, there's Barbados on the doorstep, so, and it's really a cultural education that we need to understand, that when our CARICOM brothers and sisters come to our shores, it's reciprocate, because we can go there. And if I decide to say my wife wants to set up a Hove and Associates in Jamaica, I can say, all right, let's go. Because of the CARICOM single market and economy.
It is a great opportunity for the region, but you open the door. Being an attorney yourself, you know that usually once you open the door, the other guy is going to jump in. You jumped in on the fact that your wife is Jamaican. Your history sort of drew me to you because we'll get to the personal side in a moment, but you did law in England. You achieved your law degree from the Huddersfield University, attended law school at the prestigious College of Law in London. Also, here in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, you spent 3 years training and practicing. You became a senior partner, and now you have your own law practice set up. But your extraction is indeed interesting. I mean, you are a composition of a lot of things. Let's see. Trinidad, from what aspect are you?
I'm Trinidad on my mother's side.
And on your father's side?
My father is Zimbabwean. So they are actually a product of immigration as well, because my mother and my dad, they met in Cave University where they were studying law, and my dad was on a scholarship from the Zimbabwean government. They met in Cave in Barbados, and
you're just hitting all over the place. Trinidad, Zimbabwe, working at Cape Hill in Barbados, to study in London, and then come across, get a Jamaican wife.
And I actually did my master's in Nottingham, so and that was a cosmopolitan kind of city as well. So immigration is very close to my heart.
Yes.
When I was in England, my wife, she actually lived in England for 11 years. So she was regularizing her status even as a student and that sort of thing. So it had instances where I would have sat in consultations with her attorney, and I would be like, and her attorney was a Guyanese attorney practicing in London, so practicing immigration law. And I was like, it always touched me. I said, but I wonder if there's a market for this in Trinidad, boy, and when I came back,
there's going to be a market for your book. I'll probably help you put that together. It's 14 minutes after 11 o'clock, and we're talking immigration. We're going to get back to the personal side just for a moment, but you mentioned there are two sides to it. One is the side of those who are qualified to get the skill certificate, and a lot of folks who are coming to Trinidad, it is reported, in fact, coming for and we'll get to the telephones. Callers, if you hold your calls for now, we'll get with questions for Attorney Masaisai a little later on. Just bear with us, please. But a lot of those who are coming to Trinidad and Tobago and who are picked up have overstayed their visas because they came here not as part of a skill select. They come here and they pick up a little domestic job, a little this, a little that, like not dissimilar to what we Caribbean folks have done in other countries. In their case, when they have overstayed their visa, is there any way, and I know it's going to vary, but for overstaying, what happens here? You expelled forever, or is it a case of... explain to me the prevalence of those who are unskilled coming to Trinidad and Tobago, and what is the most common thing that you hear is the reason for them overstaying, outside of what would seem to be the obvious?
Okay, the most common reason for overstaying is normally ignorance of the law.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yes.
Most people think because we are part of the CARICOM, I suppose the forerunner for the CARICOM was probably the Federation.
Yes.
But it is the perception that you could just move and live as you feel like.
Well, yeah,
But
because the label is free movement. I mean,
correct, correct. But it is free movement, but it is regulated free movement.
Yes.
All right. Even if you overstay, it's not the end of the world. All right. You can obviously, if you overstay, you can leave, but you in order to come back, what we normally have to do is write to the Minister of National Security, which is in a perfect world, I would have liked that CARICOM and immigration come under the same ministry. Because literally, for these kind of matters, you have to be liaising with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. You have to be liaising with the Minister of National Security. Sometimes you have to be liaising with the Ministry of Trade and Investment.
But even if they have these separate ministries, they should have some liaison officer between the ministries, so you don't have to go through the whole bureaucratic process of getting...
It is heavily bureaucratic. So, for example, if it is you have overstayed and the police have done their sweep of the streets and they catch up with you, they tell you bring your passport. They see in your passport you're supposed to leave in October 2015. They say, but this is November 2015. Why didn't you leave? Oh gosh, I really didn't know. I had to leave exactly on that date. They will detain you because you have overstayed your time. There is a process, so everything is due process. All right, whereby you have to be brought before what you call a special inquiry, where the immigration officer so there's different classes of immigration officers, but the immigration officer 4 is really the most senior immigration officer, bar the chief immigration officer. So the immigration officer 4 will hold the special inquiry and basically read you your charge and advise you as to how you plead. And obviously, if it is you have overstayed your time, you would plead that yes, I did overstay my time, hands up, but give a reason. All right, don't just say yes, I overstayed my time and that's it, because it could result in you being deported from Trinidad.
But can you be barred permanently because you overstayed your
No.
Good enough.
No. But if you are deported as opposed to voluntarily leaving, so what we would always advocate to clients, and this is not something that the immigration officer will tell the client if they're not unrepresented, is that ask to leave voluntarily. Tell them that, watch, I can get my ticket in the morning. My family could get it online, and in the morning I could go back to my country.
Right.
Because if you get to leave voluntarily, it would be more easier for you to come back on the next occasion.
In addition to, if you show you can leave, I'm inquiring here, if you show that you have the means and the willingness to leave voluntarily, does that save you that whole question of a detention center?
No. What saves you the detention center is if you have someone in the jurisdiction, legal. If you have, like, say, a family member or friend or a pastor or someone who is willing to accept you.
Yes.
All right. So basically, they will put you on what they call an order of supervision. So pending the special inquiry, which usually takes between 3 to 6 months. On a good time. When I tell you, when the immigration building had closed down on Frederick Street, it was taking at least 9 months for these special inquiries. So it led to obvious overcrowding of the IDC and that. But the order of supervision is put in place whereby they can assure that you will show up.
Gotcha.
Show up. So every fortnight they'll tell you, just come sign the slip. And they know you're still in Trinidad, because obviously with issues of immigration matters, when they have your passport, there is the risk of the person absconding.
Indeed.
Yeah, so they normally, if it is that you can get someone to vouch for you that you will stay at this residence until we can settle the issue of you overstaying, they will allow you to remain at large, meaning to live in Trinidad pending your special inquiry.
International law is one of the areas of my guest. Intellectual personal injury is also another one. Family law, and the one that we're working on this morning, which is immigration. He is attorney Farai Hove Masaisai. We will be getting into the telephone. I know the phones are ringing up, but as I said, we will get to the telephones in a short while with it, but we just want to continue in the area of clarity here.
One of the issues that you had touched upon in terms of persons without skills coming to Trinidad. Now, even if you don't have a skill, we have gotten CSME applications of nail technicians, for persons who take care of the elderly, geriatric nurses. They may not even know that they are geriatric nurse. All they know is that they can take care of old people.
I see what you're saying.
We register their business. We register them with the Board of Inland Revenue, so they pay taxes into the economy. We put them onto one of our trusted accountants, and they have been through the CARICOM, CSME, they have allowed them to run their business. What they normally do is they give them 1 year probation. If within 1 year you can't make a profit, then really, so for example, if I have no qualification, but I am 50, 50 years old, and I know how to take care of the elderly. I'm delicate, and I know if given the opportunity, I can make a business out of taking care of persons coming to their home and take care of their elderly grandmother and that sort of thing. We have seen that. We have registered businesses.
But the person must establish a business. You cannot do this as an individual.
Correct.
Okay.
You could, but you can register yourself as a sole trader.
I see.
All right, but it will fall under the Business Registration Act. All right. So that way, the state obviously regularizes you, and they benefit from your input into the economy.
Yes, because you pay taxes once you can show. That's why they tell you, show us you can make a profit with X amount of time.
Correct.
So in fact, you are taking care of your own keep, as it were. So home assistants, those who are Jen, I mean, there are so many titles used. I tell you, we become so PC. I have a hard time keeping up with it sometimes. So a home assistant, I think, is the last time I heard one regarded to in America, which is a domestic. Right. Is that individual can also set up?
Yes.
And if they can, what is the prereq to doing it? I mean, is it very costly? Is it difficult?
Okay, in terms of a checklist, obviously you consult an attorney, because it can get a bit stressful going through the procedure. So it's good to go with attorneys who know the entire procedure and who have that rapport with the ministry.
Well, it is difficult to even read the boilerplate half the time, the way you guys do your legal language, but go ahead.
Right. So part of it is obviously developing a business plan and having your forecast on the economy. We work with persons with MBAs and that sort of thing to develop a business plan, because just the run-of-the-mill business plan to get into that aspect of the CSME, it would not work. You have, and obviously there's also an interview. Once you submit your business plan, and you have to have what you call a police character certificate from your home country as well as from Trinidad. So you should not have any criminal records, save and except traffic offenses.
Yeah, because what constitutes a criminal record? Because a misdemeanor, and there's a reason for this, listeners, in case you just locked into us, because there are a lot of side disruptions that can happen, that can fracture a society just by dealing with this immigration question in a cavalier way. To say, if one felt, and that's the reason I asked the question about what is the punishment, because if one feels that coming forward there is undue punishment, they will not even cooperate with the police. They may see crime somewhere and not want to go to the police for fear of being exposed themselves. If they feel, oh, Dan, like I overstayed this thing, I really want to correct this, but if I tell them I will not be allowed here again, these are real elements we have to deal with. And if you have folks living in a community where they feel they cannot liaise with the police, they may have some of the information that we need the police to be equipped with to make life livable for everybody. Yeah. That is the bigger picture. Please go ahead.
Right. So in terms of, if you overstay a time, that can be remedied. Meaning you can go through the special inquiry, you can leave voluntarily. Once your documents are in order, you can come back again. So there's no lifetime ban because you overstay a time.
Misdemeanor. What is a misdemeanor?
Okay, now if it is that you have committed a criminal offense, meaning part of the procedure is that you have to have come in through Piaco or one of the regulated ports of entry. There are individuals who come in through a boat, a dinghy. They get in. You have to regularize yourself. You can't. You have to come through one of the recognized ports. You have to be what they term a permitted entrant. All right. So have no fear. Once you are CARICOM national, you are welcome to the shores of Trinidad. I know under the previous administration it wasn't that clear cut, but it seems that we're trying to get it right now. But if you have overstayed your time, it's just a matter of regularizing your time. All right, and the regularization process is really you have to leave and come back. not leave and we don't want you back.
Get that very clear. 26 minutes after 11 o'clock, you're inside Brunch, and we're talking immigration. Antigua, Barbuda, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Kitts, and Nevis, and Lucius, and Vincent, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago, all signatories to this, right? These are the 12 members that are signatories to this. There are some limitations from some countries, I understand, and as far as allowing certain quality of people in here, vocational qualifications. I'm taking in the area of professional nurses, qualified teachers, artisans, and so on. These are some of the areas that I know they're having problems. Let's see if I can get this clearly. Categories 6 to 10. CARICOM heads of government have agreed that Antigua and Barbuda, for instance, for the time being, will not permit free movement of persons in the category 6 to 10. And 6 to 10 would be the nurses, the qualified teachers, artisan, holders of associate degrees or equivalent qualifications, such as 2 Cape A levels, and also household domestics. So there are some areas that is ambiguous. But again, if you're not too clear on anything, that is the reason it makes a good investment to get someone who can help you with it, which means an attorney. It means you.
Yeah, I tell you, I have a Jamaican client.
Yes.
And he came to our office. He was like, well, he used to live in the United States, and he's like, he would say, me nah know why all them Jamaican are go on New York and Washington and
when
all,
they can come here.
when Trinidad right here.
All right,
you know.
right,
And he came
right.
and he set up his I think it was a restaurant. There was a restaurant we set up for him. We registered the business. He got his food license. He registered with the regional corporation, and he brought it with that. He brought his dependents into Trinidad. They attend the UE and that sort of thing. But it's all about regularizing yourself.
Yes.
All right. Yes, there's business opportunities, but you can't just come and make money and not want to be held accountable for the money that you make from the economy.
And those who feel that why are we extending all of this is something signed by all 12 members for there to be free movement, free trade, also for production to increase, for us to get some of the brains coming out of these countries and for us to share some of our brains with them. It is a reciprocal situation. We get, you get. Get into the area now. I want to bring this back home, Attorney Masaisai, of dealing with those who are married to Trinidad nationals. Because
that's the best way, I suppose my wife would say that.
Trish, I did not say that. He did.
Once you're married to a Trinidad national, you're entitled to a family life. So, but you have to apply for what you call residency. All right. Don't just get married and say everything will turn out well. I suppose that I know it was made ahead in the newspaper with the unfortunate scenario with the
man beating up the 2-year-old to drink the milk, and his wife being Jamaican, and then Jamaican. She was denied bail, and being denied bail is because she had overstayed her papers here. Yes. Right.
Now, even in that, I suppose her attorney can still succeed on bail, but the issue will come back to did she regularize her status as an immigrant? And it is easy. Once you're married to a Trinidadian, you just go to the Ministry of National Security. There's a whole department called the Residency Department on Abercrombie Street. It's between Duke Street and Park Street, directly opposite Rand Credit Union. So that branch of the Ministry of National Security deals with residency. Once you're married to a Trinidad national, you show up there with your spouse and a copy of your marriage certificate, and the process is started. They normally just fill out a form, and you have a couple interviews. Now, in the past, persons have obviously abused this process, so now they stretch the interviews for a specific period for the purpose of avoiding scam marriages. Persons would pay persons to get married and that sort of thing.
What is the penalty for a scam marriage? Is that nationals who may be so inclined or tempted clearly understand? What is the penalty for a scam?
I suppose that's a loophole in the law. You know?
Uh-oh.
That's a loophole. What
does that mean? There is no punishment for a scam marriage.
Because how would you prove it? It's a scam marriage.
Well, how did they do it in the United States? They give you, I think, 3 years to do it. In the meantime, if you cannot prove that, in fact, you live a quote-unquote normal married life, they will deny you, and they will take the national and they will charge them.
No, we don't do that.
You don't do that.
I think that's something the lawmakers need to look at. But it is
As your wife would say, big things are going on in that area.
what they normally do in Trinidad, it takes between 3 to 5 years for your interviews. And obviously, if the marriage is not sound, because obviously at the interviews they ask questions pertaining to your marriage subsisting.
Right.
All right. And if it is not found by the immigration officers to be subsisting, they will recommend to the minister that they not approve that person for permanent residence.
Got a question on that, because you see, and now we are into the meat of this thing. Let me just give out the phone number so folks have it. I know you all have been calling, but let me just give the number so you have it put down. It's 628-2250, 628-2250, and 628-9107. Those are the numbers you call for questions for my guest, Attorney Masaisai. All right, 628-2250 and 628-9107. In the case where a foreign national is married to a Trinidadian, but there is abuse, there is, conditions that, the marriage only lasted 6 months, huh?
6 months.
Yeah, because of abuse, because the person turned into a monster after. Does that remove all her privilege?
No. Okay, you can apply on your own strength if you are here for at least 5 years. So if you reside within the jurisdiction for 5 years, you are allowed to apply on your own strength. Obviously, if the marriage has dissolved as a result of abuse, now the immigration officers who carry out the interviews, they are persons as well. They are human as well. So it is really for you to show to the immigration officer why. Show them reasons.
So
why.
the minute you start suffering any kind of abuse, go to the police station, make a report, let it be documented. That is what you're going to need. Farai, you tackle that one. Thank you, D.
All right. I'll put it in perspective. We recently got retained from a Trinidadian who was residing in Hong Kong. And her mother came to Trinidad, married her father. Her mother came from China, married her father back in 1958. All right. And she then migrated to Canada in 1962, so that's around independence, and basically had this client who now resides in Hong Kong, and the client who's residing in Hong Kong now wants to regularize her Chinese nationality. So she has to now show proof to the Chinese immigration that her mother was not made a Trinidadian citizen back in 1958 when she came to Trinidad. And this is something that she came to us with to resolve. And really and truly, it is obviously a matter of checking the laws back in 1958, which at the time we were not even an independent state,
right.
So we had to look at some old ordinances. And so what I'm trying to get to the caller is that you really need to retain an attorney who would be able to address your needs in Trinidad, because the nature of our immigration, it is relatively young in terms of our immigration laws. The legislation is a 1976 legislation when we became a republic. And even some of the immigration officers that you may be talking to on the phone may not be very occur with the laws. With regards to your immigration permanent residency application, it should not have taken that long. If it's taking that long, you need to actually write to the minister himself, through his permanent secretary, and ask for them to intervene, explain the scenario that it's taken 16 years for you to get your permanent residency, because it's not supposed to take that long. And obviously attach proof of your application, because they normally give you a receipt when your application is made.
We're talking immigration here on Brunch. Our telephone number is 628-2250, 628-2250, and 628-9107. My guest is Attorney Farai Masaisai, and we are talking about the things that affect you. What are the areas that I know is a situation in New York, and I want to know what is the situation in Trinidad, because I've been asked to inquire this. If a foreign national is here, comes here, and they produce a child is born while they're here in Trinidad, and they want to stay here, but they've gone past their permitted time. What is the situation in a case like that? The child is Trinidadian because it was born in Trinidad shores. Am I correct on that?
Right.
And if the child is Trinidadian, all right, so what happens in the case of the parent?
All right. If both, you're saying that both parents are not Trinidadian?
I'm speaking of one, no, not even a marriage, not even something involving a marriage. A young woman comes to Trinidad for a period of time. During that period of time, she gives birth to a child. Child is born on the soil of Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
There has to be an issue of how do you keep the mother together with the Trinidad national.
All right. No, well, at the end of the day, wherever the mother goes, she will take a child. All right.
Right.
The mother does not automatically get Trinidad residency because you make a child in Trinidad. That does not happen. What she can do is she can approach an attorney and they can make representations on her behalf to the Minister of National Security. Now, the Minister of National Security has what you call a discretion. Now, there is the law and then there's the minister's discretion. The minister can exercise his discretion in certain circumstances. For example, humanitarian grounds. All right. So, for example, obviously the attorney will couch it in such a way that it will be unhumane for the immigration to deport the mother when the child is Trinidadian. And they will make a case that, the mother has developed so many close ties to the community. In making that case, we obviously get recommendations from a pastor or some community leader that I have known the mother for this amount of time, and and she's willing to contribute to our economy and that sort of thing.
But
so it's really
absent the discretion, the law states that this mother, who have overstayed her time, can be deported. Is that correct?
She can be deported.
And what happens to the child?
Well, then the child will either become a ward of the state, or the child can go with the mother. But the natural thing to do is to write and pull on the heartstrings of the Minister of National Security. Now, it has happened. We have received a lot of success under Jack Warner when he was the Minister of National Security, because he had a junior minister, I think his name was Colin Partap, and they actually used to exercise their discretion very willingly in favor of mothers who make children in our jurisdiction who were not Trinidadian. So it's just a matter of knowing the avenues where to go. Don't just put your head in the sand and think everything will happen around it, because sooner or later the principal of the school might ask to see the parent.
Yes.
And the accent, obviously the accents, it's difficult to pick up a Trini accent. So your accent will sell you out. In terms of citizenship, as I said before, with regards to residency, there's a citizenship department in the Ministry of National Security. They are very helpful. It's just a matter of either writing to them or going in and ask them what are their prescribed forms. In your scenario, you can get back your citizenship given the amount of years that you've been doing business in Trinidad and that the fact that you're married to a Trinidadian and that. It's just a procedure in itself. All right? So don't be afraid of the procedure, but you have to attend to the Ministry of National Security. They have a department called the Citizenship Department.
A lot of folks are unclear also about this whole question of dual citizenship as it relates in the Caribbean context. What clarity can you give on that? Someone may be a national of Guyana and they choose to make the application here for citizenship. I mean, is that allowed?
All right. Now, in Trinidad, you can hold dual citizenship. It's just that maybe in your other country, meaning maybe the United States or whatnot, they may not allow dual citizenship. So you have to choose. And in most circumstances, most Trinis, unfortunately, choose the U.S. over because of the green card process and that sort of thing. When they get that citizenship, they don't want to lose it. And they basically abandon their Trinidad citizenship. So when they have to come back, well, if they say the cascadura come back, you eat the cascadura fish. And eventually when they come back in retirement to Trinidad, they want to be seen as nationalistic.
Yes.
But that decision which they made 30 years prior, to develop their ties in a other host country that was not allowing dual citizenship, then you have to reapply.
I know you mean absolutely nothing by it, but I do understand those who go out and if they do their duty out there and then decide to come back home. I mean, it is home country and they want to come to home country and they should be.
And it's not that they don't allow you, it's just that you have to go through the procedure as everyone else for citizenship.
Gotcha. Attorney Masaisai is with us, and we're looking at each other.
I'm laughing there. It had one time, the first time I went to Jamaica, it would have been in about 2010. And I got through immigration faster than my wife. And she was born in Jamaica, but she was out of the country for about 12 years. And the guy told her she's Xerox. he was like, you are Xerox Jamaican to mean like photocopy. And he was an immigration officer, and he allowed me through and I was like, well, wait now. I have to wait on the person who invite me to the country.
A lot has to do with the person who's doing the interview always. That's why the training is so important. Let's talk about detention center. So you've been picked up, you overstayed your time, and you are now being put in a deportation center. Talk to us about the conditions there, one, because earlier this week when we spoke, I was really chagrined, and that's being gentle, really annoyed and disappointed at what I know detention center conditions. But then again, when I weigh that against nationals who are in the same remand yard, I know it is unbelievable. There's something I want to bring clear to our listeners to understand, that what is being practiced now, and I know we have to deal with remand yard, but because I'm dealing with remand for all people, but because I have, like you have, had exposure to what happens to nationals in other countries, we don't want that situation repeated here. So what is you have visited a detention center. Speak to them, please.
Now, the detention center, it's in Valencia. It's basically like a warehouse where they house persons. We are talking CARICOM. Imagine the persons who are not CARICOM nationals, persons from Pakistan, persons from Nigeria, persons from Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
There are many different nationalities who are held in the detention center, and because they are not CARICOM nationals, they would not be afforded the opportunities that CARICOM nationals are afforded to get out, meaning on supervision orders and these sort of things.
Okay.
So they actually have to live there. They have to live there, and the conditions are, I would say, like a jail. It's like a jail.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very sanitary. It's not a place that anyone wants to go. It reeks. I suppose because the persons are not. It's not highlighted in the media. You know, it's not a place where the media will go for an interview and that sort of thing. The persons there, their rights, in terms of their rights, it's really their rights are dependent on international human rights. They have no proper legal rights in our what you call it, in our local laws, because our local laws don't give that kind of ambit. So really and truly, it's an international issue. The immigration detention center at one point was so packed when they had the recent closure of the what you call it, the Frederick Street office,
which was
I think it was last year. They closed I think it's still closed, but basically it caused persons to inadvertently overstay their time. All right, because you could not have gone in to renew your time. Because,
yes.
All right, so in the
hold on a second, caller. I'll get to you in a second, please.
Yeah. So normally to renew your stay, you just attend the immigration office on Frederick Street, and they put a stamp in your passport. So they ask you why you want to renew your stay for. If it is that you came to do business and the business opportunity kind of went over, and you go before your time expired, and they just they set an appointment. So they give you what you call a kind of yellow paper in your passport for an appointment to come back to renew your time. All right. That was not happening. So persons were trying to renew their time and inadvertently overstayed.
And then they got
picked up, and then they have to go to detention center.
The whole
got
thing
so packed that they had to send persons to the Aruca jail. All right. So you have now immigrants mixing with so they haven't committed
suspected
a crime,
criminals.
You know, but they have to mix with persons who have committed criminals.
Well,
right?
In the remand, you said.
Right. In
remand, you really haven't committed the crime. You were charged with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So they and that in itself, the remand yard in itself is overcrowded.
Yes, indeed.
So imagine you have a overcrowded local remand yard.
Charged for criminal offenses, you're putting together somebody with a civil offense in the same place. You come in with a situation to talk about a crime, and then you are asked if you've got your papers. Well, no, I don't have my papers. Mr. Officer, you're not an immigration attorney. You're not an immigration enforcer. Your business is to take care of that crime reported.
Correct.
Period. I want to finish that area of those who have been picked up. They are in detention. These conditions, in some cases, is totally acceptable. And if they put in remand yard with other accused criminals, it should not be. So as they caught up, they make their phone call. They call the relative. The relative does not have the means to go about getting assistance. What else can be done for those who are waiting deportation? And how long does it take if it has been decided that you overstayed your time, your excuse is not cogent sufficient, we are in fact going to deport you. How long does the deportation process take? And if more than 3 months, why?
Okay, a deportation process could take as short as a week, and it can take as long as a year.
Why as long as a year?
Really and truly, it depends on who is working on your file. Meaning, if you have an attorney following up, liaising with your family to get your ticket and that sort of thing, you can leave voluntarily if your family has the... For example, we had a situation where a client came in from Cuba through Guyana, and she came on a false passport. And obviously that was a criminal offense, so we dealt with that. And we got her to leave voluntarily in the space of a month. All right, and she spoke not one word of English. All right, well, her family were liaising with us. And I suppose they were some sort of refugees from Cuba, so they were already in Florida. And well, they paid the legal fees, they paid the fees for the interpreter. But within a month, she was through the magistrate court in Arima and through the immigration process within a month, because she had attorneys working on the file. But if you have nobody working on the file, your file will just remain. All right. It could take you a year just waiting for a flight to go back home. All right, which is unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
What role does a country, not the host country, but let us say somebody coming out of Antigua, their national has been put down for deportation? I know that the equivalent of the Consul General is called in and told, we've got your nationals here to be deported. What role do they play in a case like this? Not the host country that picked up the illegal...
The parent country, the country which they are coming from?
Yes.
Well, they can play an important role in terms of lobbying and pressuring the immigration division to speed up the process. But obviously, I tell you, our country is a laissez-faire country. If there is not someone calling every day, sometimes we even pay visits to the immigration department at Henry Street, which deals with detention of detainees and that sort of thing. So there's a whole department on Henry Street that treats with that specific issue. And as attorneys, we have to go there and speak to the immigration officer and say, watch now, make sure my client case at the top. Because we are being paid based on time, and we don't want to spend too much time on these matters. It is a person thing. Sometimes the immigration officer is changed, so you have to get a relationship with the new IO4. But at the end of the day, it is a person thing, and I suppose the department is undermanned. If it is that you have overstayed your time, that is in itself a criminal offense, meaning you have breached the law. And if you have breached the law, then they have to do up what you call a police report. Knowing the police who do it, because the police work hand in hand with the immigration officers in that aspect if you overstay your time. And they get the police officers to speed up their report so that the client can get out of the country. It's really, if you don't have someone working on it, you can be lost in the whole...
Always good to have somebody who's doing this every day. Always good to have somebody who can read the law, understand it, and with that knowledge, there's a comfort level with which they deal with officials, and officials deal with them equally.
And it's good to be here as well, man.
Farai Masaisai, it is the second time you were around here. I will not have you as a stranger. From time to time, if we have things kicking at us, we'll get in touch with you, other attorneys, as need be. But thank you so much for making time this Sunday morning.
Yes, and thank you for having me.
And I thank you for being with us. Have yourself a wonderful day.